We're going to move on. Here's some food for thought. Is there any truth to companies achieving equality across gender, race, and culture having a direct correlation with optimal innovation output? We've invited Kantar, who studied just that, and they are here to share their surprising insights. I'd like to invite Helene Silverman to the stage to present their intriguing results.
Thank you, Jill. Hello. Today I'm going to share research from Kantar around diversity and inclusion and how it connects to the way we think about health technology innovation. As companies compete for leadership in health tech, diversity and inclusion can actually be a point of competitive advantage. A number of institutions have been studying the impact of diversity and inclusion on companies' financial performance. This is data from a professor at the University of Illinois showing that an increase in companies' minority representation, in these examples, racial and gender representation, actually increases sales revenue. Many other studies have similar findings that diversity and inclusion improve employee satisfaction and employee engagement and companies' financial results. This is why it is so important. And what Kantar has done is create an industry standard metric that lets companies see how they're doing in this area. It's called the Inclusion Index, and companies use this index to understand what it is really like for employees to work there in the context of diversity and inclusion. The index has two parts: minority representation and the employee's perception of their environment and experience. And that further breaks down into three parts. One is sense of belonging. Do I feel like I fit in at my company? The second is discrimination. Have I been discriminated against? And the third is presence of demeaning behavior, specifically in the past 12 months. Has there been teasing, talking over people, bullying, etc.? And all of this is built on the foundation of 5 primary diversity dimensions, which are gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, and ability. What I've done for you today is specifically look at data for the health and the tech industries, as well as across all industries as a point of reference. To be clear, the health industry covers all types of health companies and includes healthcare providers, such as doctors, nurses, and physical therapists. And here are what the numbers look like globally. The higher, the better. So globally, health index is higher than tech and higher than the all industry number. And this is driven by the minority representation part of the equation, specifically that the health industry globally has a higher representation of women than many other industries do. Now, the maximum score is 100. I don't think we're ready to hang these numbers on our refrigerators just yet. But the point isn't the absolute number, it's that now we have a metric companies can use to know where they stand and make plans for the future. What's actually way more interesting is that I found some surprises when I was analyzing this data. And the first surprise is around abilities and health. These numbers are about companies' sense of belonging, specifically for people who identify as disabled. Again, we want to see a high number, yet for health, the number is lower than the other industries globally, and even more pronounced when looking at North America. I was not expecting to see this, particularly given that the focus of the industry is on people's health and well-being. Here are the results for presence of demeaning behavior in the past 12 months. Again, specifically looking at people who identify as disabled. This is actually the one place where we want to see a low number. Take a look at health. It's nearly 50%. 50% reporting that they have experienced demeaning behavior in their workplace in the past year. Think about that. I'll come back to this when I talk about innovation in a little bit and the importance of this group. The second surprise was tech in North America. So globally, I showed that health indexed higher than tech. In North America, tech index is higher than health. And in this case, it's actually driven by the employee experience part of the equation. I wasn't expecting to see this, And I have some hypotheses about why we may be seeing these results. One is remote workers. The tech industry is known for having a higher proportion of remote workers than many other industries. Well, if I'm not at the coffee pot with my colleagues, then potentially I'm less likely to be teased, to be talked over, or to hear inappropriate remarks. Similarly, if I'm a voice on the phone, my coworkers might not even know what diversity dimensions apply to me, which could reduce the presence of discrimination. Another hypothesis is public attention. We've all seen tech companies in the news regarding their treatment of women and minorities. This type of attention can actually be a call to action for the entire industry, not just for the specific companies mentioned. Which brings me to my third hypothesis, which is that the tech industry is about moving fast. So potentially, if companies have a hot foot about a problem, they may be faster in taking corrective action. Well, how does all of this come together, and what does it tell us about health tech innovation? Well, I say, let's lean into these surprises. Let's use this data about diversity and inclusion as the lens through which we consider health tech innovation. This approach reveals 3 specific actions you can take away today to impact your company. The first is data. It's important to have facts about your company specifically. Today, I shared numbers at the industry level. Your company might be very different from that. Also, I work in inclusion and diversity, and I was surprised by some of the stuff I found. This highlights the importance of working with facts and not assumption. You can come to Kantar for the Inclusion Index, you can field an employee engagement survey, or some other approach that's best for your company. The point is to have facts about your business specifically. The second action is around talent. In a fast-paced, dynamic industry like health technology, companies need to attract and retain top talent in order to lead in innovation. Earlier, I showed some compelling data about the impact that diversity and inclusion can have on companies' financial performance. Think about talent with this in mind. What's the makeup of your current workforce? How does your company appear when at recruiting events? What about when you're interviewing candidates? Do you have diverse interview panels? And here I would say, think specifically about people who identify as disabled, because this group reports a worse experience than others. What can you do to make your company's environment appealing for those who identify as disabled? And the third action is around innovation. When it comes to new product innovation, my recommendation is that you consider people who identify as disabled specifically. What can you do to make your products adaptive for this audience? This includes people with permanent disabilities, as well as those who are temporarily disabled. I'll give you an example. My colleague Mandy, she's the woman who actually came up with the concept of the Inclusion Index, and she recently broke her foot. We were working on a project together, and her personal fitness device kept buzzing her, saying, "It's time for you to get up and walk around." Well, she was about ready to throw a fit, saying, "Why is this thing telling me to get up and walk? I can't even move right now." Now, imagine if Mandy's device were adaptive to her situation and reminded her to elevate and ice her foot instead. I'd like to share an example of a company that has done a beautiful job with adaptive technology. This is the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Controller. Take a look.
My name is Grover.
Sean. My name is Ian.
I'm Taylor.
My name is Owen, and I am 9.5 years old.
So Owen was born with a rare genetic disorder called Escobar syndrome.
He's had 33 surgeries to date.
I love video games, my friends, my family, and again, video games.
It's his way of interacting with his friends when he can't physically otherwise do it.
What I like about the adaptive controller is now everyone can play. You can just say, all right, that's that button, that's that button, that's that button. Perfect.
One of the biggest fears early on is, how will Owen be viewed by the other kids? He's not different when he plays.
No matter how your body is or how fast you are, you can play. It's a really good thing to have in this world.
It's a beautiful example. I can't stress enough the importance of what I found in this data and people with disabilities feeling marginalized. Please think about this when you are thinking about new product innovation. The Social Security Administration projects that 1 in 4 20-year-olds will be out of work for at least a year due to a disabling condition sometime between now and retirement age. That's 25% of us. So just think about that. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I hope that this was thought-provoking for you and that it will spark you and your colleagues to think about your companies and about innovation from the perspective of diversity and inclusion. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Helene. It was fantastic.